This episode, we have special guest Chase Polishchuck. Today, Chase is going to talk about what living life as a Great Commission Christian looks like for him and how he represents Christ to those in his life. So, Chase, why don't you begin by talking about your background a bit?
Well, hello, and it's just an honor to be able to be on here. And uh, so my background from where I come from is in ministry. I've grew up in a Christian home, thankfully, and through my journey of life and coming to know the Lord, I ended up at Calvary Chapel Bible College, and I spent about 2 years there working on my associate's degree. And during my time, I was also a dorm steward for a year. And with that, I had some guys just that I was living with or were in nearby rooms, and got to just kind of pour into their lives and the season that they were in at the Bible College as students. And just a great opportunity to grow in leadership and grow in pretty personal discipleship. And then last summer, after those 2 years, I took an internship on the East Coast in church planting at a sister campus of a larger church that was growing, and so I was able to get kind of behind the scenes on what it looks like to grow a church from the ground up. And so that's some of my background.
For sure. Can you tell me what it looked like for you to be a dorm steward? What were your responsibilities? What was it like to disciple other people?
Yeah. So when I was a dorm steward, the first semester I did it, I had 3 guys. We were all in the same room, and a lot of my responsibilities were logistical level, just like I had some coursework, which was reading and going to a little class each week, but then with the guys, just being available to encourage them, talk with them through things, meeting with all 3 of them once a week, and taking turns sharing testimonies and just being an encouragement to one another. I know I tried to integrate, some scripture reading and even some like discussion around what the scriptures mean, and then met up with each one of them one-on-one pretty routinely, probably about once a month, and just kind of digged into their life and saw what kind of their needs were and how they are navigating life in their season, and how I can possibly encourage them, just be praying for them, and
That's awesome. Can you tell me some more about your time at Bible college?
just like as a student.
Yeah, as a student, just talk about how you were able to grow as a student, what classes were especially helpful for you, what sort of personal studies were especially helpful.
Good question. When I was at Bible college, took a lot of classes. I took some of the ones that come to mind as like notable classes to me. I know were youth ministry, sexual ethics. That was a crazy class. It was taught by the president of the school, and for example, I guess when I say sexual ethics, that's a very loaded term. Sexual ethics included like clarifying gender, the context of what God's purpose for sex was, and addressing things like homosexuality, transgenderism, women in the church, and so on and so forth. It was a broad band of things, but that was a really practical learning class. Honestly, it was an introduction to the conversation for me, so I know that was encouraging. The youth ministry class I took was super encouraging to me in that we had a pastor teach and so it felt very ground level, practical in the things that we were taught and learned, and it was there's that, youth ministry, sexual ethics, and I know for me a lot of my time in Bible college was also wrapped up in just the lifelong life that I had with other guys at the school, in the rooms that I was in. I know I built some of my closest friendships from Bible college that I still have to this day, and so I think for me, being able to live in the dorms, live on campus, and see the roughly the same people almost every day. You don't really go a few days without seeing the people that you know, and so I know that was encouraging because you're able to just do life with people, ask tough questions, navigate them together, and kind of make some really good progress in my own personal growth because of those conversations that happen beyond the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then lastly, why don't you tell me a little bit more about your internship on the East Coast? What was that like? What were you doing over there? Stuff like that.
Yeah, for my internship in church planting on the East Coast, I worked alongside the campus pastor for like I said, a sister church plant. It was an SBC internship through Southern Baptist, and when I was there, I worked basically right underneath the campus pastor, and anything he gave me, I did, and so it was a lot of it was really cool because it was catered to the needs that I the areas that I wanted to grow, and also the needs that they had. So it was very mutually beneficial. Some things like a few books he had me read and do summary pages for him, so that way he could reference it because it's books that he's read, or maybe some events that I led that were to connect families with the church and with one another, or some projects behind the scenes that I worked on, from planning potential outreach opportunities for the coming fall and how they can kind of reach more people and schools or organizations in the area. And then perhaps the biggest project that I worked on was they had launched their youth ministry this last fall, right after my internship ended. And project that I had was to kind of outline what would be necessary for the launch and all the components of it, and a proposed plan for launch. And I know that for me that was really encouraging and cool because I ended up talking to a few of the pastors that I've known from over the years, and nearly every one of them's launched a youth ministry from the ground up, and so I just asked them a ton of questions and got to learn from them what they did and kind of crafted it for a growing church, which, I mean, I took the internship because I love the idea of church planting from the ground up and doing it right for the first time, and having the opportunity to build a youth ministry before it even ever happens was pretty awesome, I guess, visionary opportunity.
For sure. And you also worked at Calvary Chapel Bible College in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Can you tell me about what it was like to do that as a student, when you weren't a student, and just what it was like to live life with other people your age, and just to live together in fellowship as Great Commission Christians?
Yeah. For me, when I was working in the kitchen as a student, I know that there were staff and not a student. I think there was a lot more freedom there to still do life with guys on campus as staff. I know for me, when I came back as staff, one of the things I had a heart for was just being available for guys that wanted to hang out, get encouragement, kind of like a dorm steward without being a dorm steward. Just kind of available to do life with guys and encourage them wherever they're at, and they encourage me too. And it was really cool because when I came back as staff, there were just a few guys that I connected with, some of them even first semesters that were fresh to the school, had never met me. I really did get the opportunity to kind of connect with them and grow even beyond kind of my time as a student, which has proved really special even to today. Because I mean, even yesterday, I had a phone call with one of those guys, so it was really an encouraging time, even as staff, to serve the students, making food and kind of love on them from the day to day of multiple meals a day, and then also to kind of just interact with people even outside of my shifts.
Yeah. And then I know that you also were involved in the local church when you were at the Bible college. What did that look like?
Yeah, so when I was at the Bible college as a student, I was getting connected with a church about 20 minutes from there, Springs of Life Church, smaller church, and their lead pastor, Andrew, and I was just connecting more and more with him. And I think because I've spent a lot of my time in, whether it's youth ministry as a student or youth ministry as a volunteer at other times, just connecting with pastors, it's been an encouragement in my walk. And so I got connected with him, and as we continue to get to know one another, a lot of our mission and values lined up. And so when I had the opportunity to come back to the mountain and work for the school after my internship, I also doubled down and ended up interning for him. A lot of what I did as an intern was helping with the young adults, kind of just getting things squared away, like making sure we've got a whiteboard, following along with the teachings, and planning to do some of the teachings. Also, just I think doing life with Andrew because he's the only pastor on staff. He's often spread pretty thin, so I think a lot of what my time as an intern ended up being was kind of pastoral care for a pastor, just being a friend and hanging out with his kids, and kind of we were talking, high level, like vision things for the future of the church at the time, and then within the church there was just a lot of, I think there's a lot of just wrestle within the congregation going on, and so there was a lot of just care being given, and so a lot of my role was kind of helping with odds and ends, and then also just being an encouragement to him and his family where I could.
For sure. Can you tell me about your current context and how you're able to just represent Christ to those around you and live life with them?
Yeah. So last fall, after spending some time interning at that church and working out back at the college, I just felt more and more of a stirring from the Lord to move back to my hometown, which is where I am now, primarily to pour into my blood family in this season. There's just been some definite estrangement over time with me going to college, and then just some challenges with some of the relationships in my family, and wanting to just think for me, where I am at currently is I'm living right in my hometown near my parents and my brother, and I'm kind of just hanging out with them, being available, having conversations, while I'm just plugging away at a local church. When I moved home, I wanted to find a church that was like really close to my family's house, because I think in the past a lot of what we've done is commuted to church pretty far, and I think more and more I'm growing to value being in your community, in your context, and so I just had a heart to find a church that was going to be better fitted to me and my family for the season that we're in. And by the grace of God, there's a church on the same street that I live on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a healthy church that's all about discipleship and community, which is great for my family in the season that we're in and needing community. And so I'm fairly new to that church, just the last few months, but I've already kind of just been getting super connected and kind of plugged in to people that live in the area. I'm part of a home group that meets every Wednesday. I went to the men's retreat a few weeks ago, and I've just been meeting up with, yet again, some of the pastors. I think that's just often the pattern that I have of trying to connect with the leadership and offer help wherever I can. And so I think a thing that I'm talking with them right now is where I can kind of find my place in service to the church with the giftings that I have in the season that I'm in. And it's been cool. I've been serving in kind of smaller ways, like maybe, I know after like our Good Friday service, they needed to move all the chairs and set it up for Easter Sunday because of the influx of lots of people that were going to come. And so right after service, I helped to move tons of chairs. And small things like that. I think just great opportunity for conversation with people, and kind of just can be present to the things that maybe can get missed. You know, it's easy for, or I guess it makes the most sense when the service is over that you kind of head home, you know, and then when there's a need, that whoever's left kind of takes care of it, and they expressed that there was going to be that need, and so I kind of just stuck around and helped. Things like that, where try to serve, be available in the community. I know that they have a membership course that they're doing right now, so I'm attending that and kind of just really learning what another church is about. And I mean, because I did an internship at one church on the East Coast. I was part of another church this last fall, and I've kind of been a part of a handful of churches. And so being another church that I'm actually really encouraged by has been kind of a sweet season.
For sure. And the way that you're serving at that church is great. I mean, discipleship, being a Great Commission Christian, is done in the little things. So that's awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like you have a lot of experience in youth ministry and living life and discipling young adults. So can you tell me some of the lessons that the Lord has taught you through that? Some of the mistakes and challenges, and also some of the successes.
Yeah. Where do I start? I mean, there's a lot. It's been a cool journey of connecting with young people in general. And I think for me that I've seen come up in times past is there's lots of questions of, you know, what's my calling? What am I called to? I think when I've looked at the scripture, the thing that comes up the most is we're called to love the Lord with everything that's in us. And from that place of loving Him, we will go out into the world and love others. And you know, two great commandments. And so, you know, a lesson that I've learned for myself others is called to love the Lord with everything in us. And so if that's our aim, then we're on track. If we're trying to be self-serving, or maybe we're living in the fear of man rather than the fear of the Lord, the end result is not what God intended for us. And so, in the midst of pursuing passions and dreams and desires, as long as we're keeping the main thing, the Lord will guide us because we have our attention on Him. And I know that for myself, that's a big thing that I'm still learning. I think I'm going to be learning for the rest of my life that to keep my vision clear, I have to look at the one who is pure and on the throne, who's the King, is Jesus. So I'd say that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned is that, Jesus said one thing is necessary. And in the context of Mary and Martha, and how Mary was sitting at the Lord's feet and listening to His teaching, as it says. And Martha's worried and anxious about trying to serve the Lord, trying to do the right thing, trying to make sure everything's met. And in the end, Jesus just said, Martha, you're worried about too much. One thing's necessary, and Mary's chosen it. It won't be taken from her. And so I think that's a big thing that I try to keep my eyes on, is that one thing is necessary is to look to the Lord and to obey His voice at all times. And obviously it's easier said than done, but from a practical level is just being super plugged into prayer and in love with His Word, and subjecting myself to people that are older than I am, that know better than I do, and kind of listening to their hearts about my passions and the things that I want to do with my life. But lesson-wise, it's a good one. And then you said kind of some of the challenges that I faced, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, some of the challenges I faced was often with just my own pride getting in the way. And there's a sense of eagerness of when you're passionate about something that you want to do it, but our character has to come first before our passion. And I think often I've come to a lot of stopping points, or for the sake of an example, I guess a lot of red lights, having to stop the car and go, well, I'm headed in this direction, but there's a red light and it's annoying, I gotta wait. I think it's kind of what comes to mind when I think of a character being kind of behind schedule, and me needing to kind of double back and grow. And I think I can think of a lot of times where maybe I wanted an opportunity for leadership, wanted to serve, and the door closed. Shared by my background and scared of all the open doors I got to walk through. But for example, my second semester at Bible college, I applied to be a dorm steward, and the Lord closed that door. It just wasn't His time yet, and at the time I was a little bummed. But I think the Lord, a few months into the semester, and I was like, oh yeah, I definitely am not ready to be in leadership. I think I have a lot to learn from whoever's above me in this season, and I need to submit to that. And kind of present and remembering that character is crucial, and that we're all on a path to learning. We're all disciples of Jesus first and foremost. So I think the challenge for me was just overcoming kind of my strong eagerness and passion to do the things that I love, and submitting to kind of God's vision for my life, and taking me down a kind of a slower path that teaches me His ways, to kind of guide my passion in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So like what you're talking about with the primary responsibility of a disciple maker is to be discipled by Christ. And how have you seen that worked out through those who have been able to disciple you? So the pastors who are over the internship, the people in the department that you're volunteering in, and dorm stewards that you've been able to sit under at Bible college, just older men in your life. Um, how have you been able to grow through that, and what are some of the, just looking back on that and reflecting, what would you say are some of the most important qualities and most helpful behaviors that you've seen in those leaders?
It's a really good question. I think the thing that comes to mind is availability.
Mm-hmm.
Is when they take their schedules and they're like, when if someone shows me their schedule, I think the reality is it just shows me what their priorities are. If there's like time on there for the Lord, time on there for pouring into people that need to be poured into, like that shows that there's a value of their own walk with Jesus, but also others' walks with Jesus. I think the leaders that maybe I didn't end up growing close with or didn't have the opportunity to connect with, I think a big thing that came up was just that they weren't available, that they were too busy. And it's not something I take personally. It's just not who the Lord had in that season. And I give them up to the Lord because they're a disciple of Jesus, not of me. And but for those leaders that I like you said have been able to connect with, they were just available to me where I was at. I know when I think of leaders in my life, even before college, when I was in high school, my youth pastor, he was super available for a few years of my life, and he intentionally discipled me for over 2 years. Like each week we pretty much met up, and in that season of my life, wow, I really needed to be poured into as a young guy who's just navigating a lot. And so when I think of leadership and their quality and disciple makers above me, I think of availability. I think of just their self-control comes to mind. Even though that's not the right word, but the idea of leaders that I had above me, the ones that I looked up to, I think a value that I saw was that they weren't short-tempered, that they were very patient, with long-suffering. And I know that I can personally sometimes be inside of me man, why won't this person understand yet? Why aren't they growing? And there can be a sense of impatience in a person's process. But a big thing that I saw that now looking back I incredibly value and am wanting to more and more grow in is long suffering and patience towards